Away from that, the Nigeria Hydrological Services Agency is sounding the alarm over potential flooding in 198 local government areas across 30 states and the Federal Capital Territory. The warning covers a 15-day period from August 7th to 21. The agency categorized the expected flood levels as very high, high and moderate based on rainfall projections and the topography of each area. A total of 832 communities have been identified as being at risk of various degrees of flooding. The states facing the very highest flood risk include Adamawa, Bauchi, Bayelsa, Benue, Borno, Delta, Gombe, Kebbi, Kogi, Lagos, Niger, Ogun, Rivers, Yobe, and Zamfara State. Other states like Anambra, Akwa Ibom, Cross River, FCT, Ebonyi, and Jigawa are also listed under high to moderate flood risk. Now, to discuss this, we are being joined by an environmentalist, Desmond Majekodunmi. Thank you so much for joining us, Mr. Desmond. What hydrological factors might have contributed to the elevated flood risk in these 198 local government areas?
Yeah, well, it's the same factors that we've been warned about for decades going back. If we continue with this global warming situation because of the massive pollution of the heat-trapping greenhouse gases, we're going to have a lot more water in the atmosphere, and as a result, we're going to have heavy rains. It's classified by the Secretary General of the United Nations himself as rain bombs. And this is what we're having, a whole lot of rain falling in a short space of time, the kind of rainfall that you would normally have maybe once, in 100 years, really aberrant, where it's happening all the time now, all over the world. So it's a huge alert for us, and we need to really take caution because the hydrological services have been very accurate. They're really on the ball. They got good equipment, and they obviously have people who know how to handle that equipment, and they're giving accurate predictions. So it's a huge alarm for all of us.
How has climate change influenced the frequency, or would I say the intensity of flooding events in Nigeria in recent years?
The intensity has increased. There's no doubt about it. What happened in Mokwa was, really out of the it was extraordinary. And it's not just Nigeria. This is happening all over the world. As we're talking right now, there are massive floods in China. They had floods in Texas, in America, in Valencia, Spain, earlier this year. In fact, theirs was just incredible. It was like a whole year's rain fell in 8 hours, and it totally inundated whatever provisions had been put in place. And, the Spanish are quite good with their drainage systems and all that. Hey, not to mention what happens here. When we use the drains as dustbins and garbage places, we're just, blocking the drains that we have. And also, we're not allowing nature to play the role that she has been playing throughout history in terms of alleviating some of the excessive water, especially in mangrove areas like Lagos and some of the other Niger Delta areas that have been classified as being at risk. If you're going to be damaging nature's flood relief system, which is the mangroves, and also to a greater extent, even the forests, because these absorb a lot of the water, and then they release it far more slowly. If we're going to be doing the massive damage that we're doing to these ecosystems, then we have to expect this type of tragedy. The thing is that we should beware, because it's going to get a lot worse if we don't take the necessary measures very quickly. It will get a lot worse. It's an alarm, and the alarm is blowing very loud. And if anybody cannot hear that alarm, then we know we have a huge problem.
Now, you've talked about us, especially in Lagos now, interfering with nature. One of them is the rate at which we claim land from the sea when it comes to building. Would you think, do you think those are also part of the contributing factors to what we're experiencing now?
Yes, definitely. It depends on where we reclaim the land from. If we take it from the deep ocean beyond, the shoreline, several kilometers, then it wouldn't have a negative impact. But then it also depends on where we take that sand to. And what's been happening in Lagos over many years is a lot of the dredging, a lot of the sand has been taken from the lagoons because it's a lot cheaper. It's a lot, you don't need very long pipes. You don't need such a robust drainage type of ships for the excavation of the sand. So they're taking it from the lagoons, which also causes a major problem. But worse still, it's where the sand goes. We're putting this sand on our mangrove swamps. And the mangrove is such a wonderful ecosystem that, as I said earlier, has been there. Nature lives in harmony with herself. She balances herself perfectly. And the mangroves are doing that job in an incredibly wonderful way. The root zone of the mangroves, they even prevent too much of erosion, and they suck up a lot of the excess water. And then the transvaporation process, it puts that water back out as water vapor, as they also release some amount of the water from the root zone, and they will help to address the flooding. But when you just come and wipe out the mangrove with millions and millions of tons of sand that's taken from the lagoon, you're going to not just destroy the mangrove's capacity, but you're also, in a lot of cases that we've seen, especially in the Lekki zone, which I'm familiar with, we end up even blocking natural streams and natural tributaries that would normally carry this water to the lagoon. And this is why we're actually quite pleased with what's going on with the Lagos State Ministry of Environment and Water Resources. They're not taking that anymore. They're saying, look, if you built on a floodplain or if you built on a stream that is supposed to evacuate water, then that building has to come down. And we've seen far too much of this. Of course, the argument of a lot of people who have got the buildings is, hey, some of them even had planning permission, but a lot of them didn't. And this needs to be done very, very effectively. Otherwise, we're going to have a lot of problems.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Desmond Majekodunmi, for having this conversation with us.